Diary, hello. It's the middle of October 2020 and you're looking at two Chrome windows, and this is actually a video about pragmatism, by which I mean to say that I'm going to explain a problem I have, explain how I want to solve the problem, and explain how I'm actually solving the problem. So the problem that I have is that I am transferring YouTube videos from one user ID to another, and this is part of a much bigger extra security enforcement program that I'm operating at home. So I've decided that I want to split out elements of my life so that if I'm out and about with a phone or a laptop, I don't lose everything. And so in more detail, I've decided that I'm going to split out my social life into one Gmail user ID and corresponding services like G Drive and YouTube. Another Gmail ID will be for anything to do with personal financial information, things like my pension or bank accounts. And the third Gmail ID and infrastructure behind it will be for any kind of business venture or non-profit that I am starting up or I'm involved with. So essentially 3 different Gmail user IDs, and hence the problem in front of you, which is that, believe it or not, on the right hand side here in this window is the business side of things, and that also has my personal YouTube subscriptions. So the window on the left is my personal Gmail user ID, and I want to move all the YouTube subscriptions from this user ID to here. Now, would you believe it that there's actually no way to do this? You can Google it because I couldn't quite believe it myself. There used to be an export button and then an import button under YouTube, but I mean I'm flabbergasted, but there's now an export button which will export your subscriptions into an XML file, but there is no import button. I mean, I know, it's just the YouTube interface is, I can't describe it in words. So I Googled the problem, and there are some workarounds, and someone had written some JavaScript in the Google Cloud. I didn't really know what that meant, but both of the so there's an original website that was set up to do this import, and that ran out of credits or some authorization, so a second person took on the mantle and set up their website. Now neither of those websites work, so there's a set of instructions which tells you, if neither of these websites work, try and do the following. And hence we come to pragmatism, because there's only like 5 instructions, 5 brief instructions. I'm guessing to someone who knows a lot more about Google Cloud than I do, and a lot more about JavaScript. So the essential instructions are to set up an account on the Google Cloud, and enable a YouTube API and services, generate an API key, set up a Python web server, and so forth. So I tried for about 3 hours to get all this working. It just doesn't work. So I thought, what can I do? And after messing about for not so long, certainly not 3 hours, I found out I can use drag and drop. So again, on the left hand side you'll see a window which is the target where I would like to put stuff, and on the right hand side you'll see my existing subscriptions. So I'm going to take this Gone with the Wind subscription, I'm going to drag it over here. I'm going to manually go to the subscribe button.
Curiosity is a stream.
I pressed Ctrl W to close the window, and that's basically transferred one subscription. Now, in the product forums where people are complaining that there is no such tool, and the tools that I alluded to which don't work, they said, oh, you know what, yeah, I've got 70 YouTube subscriptions, and I really need this tool to do it. I have over 790 YouTube subscriptions. I'll just say it again, over 790 YouTube subscriptions, which I use to inform and educate and just keep, even stuff I don't actually like, just I keep tabs on stuff. So believe me, pragmatism has struck. I've decided that although I'd like to continue what looks like a futile path of getting my Google Cloud project working, I just don't really have the skills to continue that. So I'm actually doing it manually. So let's look at the next couple of subscriptions just to get you in the mood. Dragging here. Pressing the subscribe button. Control W. Next one, Google Chrome.
You shouldn't have to be a security
subscribe button. Control W to close that window. Scrolling up, I've got Google Developers. And the only benefit I can say about doing things manually is that, oh, that's already subscribed. The only thing about doing things manually is that there are a couple of channels that I really can't be bothered to look at anymore. So I'm sort of filtering those out as I go along by a quick scan of what I subscribed to. And if it's no longer appropriate, then I will obviously not carry it over. I would say that the automated procedure was probably never going to work, and this is why I stopped eventually, because last night when I was doing this, I've got to go from A to Z, I'm at G, as you can see now. I got a message on the screen saying, oh, you've exceeded some limit and I'm not going to let you transfer any more subscriptions today. It said wait a couple of hours. I did wait a couple of hours. I waited about 2 or 3 hours, and believe it or not, it still didn't allow me. So I waited 12 hours now. So I'm up to G on my second day of transferring. And it looks like the ban has been lifted, or the hold has been lifted. So I can imagine if I had an API doing it, the same thing would happen. So yeah, the whole concept of this YouTube was just pragmatism. I had a problem. It's basically because YouTube API and my understanding of it isn't up to scratch. Plus, it's outrageous that there's an export button but no import button under YouTube. Please Google the problem. I have almost 800 YouTube channels to transfer over, and this all stems from my desire to segregate into 3 separate sections. My social or sort of social life, if you like, my personal financial life, and any sort of consultancy or non-profit work that I do, into these 3 different sections. And that's important because it'll enable me, for example, to configure my smartphone and my laptop with just the social side of things. So I can take, in the future, I'll be able to take my laptop or my smartphone, which of course are very well and paranoidally protected, but let's just say in some clever way, and somehow somebody steals my phone, steals my laptop, and somehow manages to crack open that situation, and I haven't blocked either the laptop or the phone in that period, then all they're going to get is a load of I don't know, social information which I don't mind losing. But my private financial and any kind of business side of things will be squirreled away somewhere else. So that's what's led to this transition, and I'm just appalled that it's not possible to do it in any kind of like regular way using the YouTube buttons and system options. Okay, Dario, I've rambled on for quite long enough, but I hope you get the idea. Pragmatism means somehow doing it yourself, doing it manually, not automating it, and just getting on with it. So that's what I'm going to do. Thanks for listening.